Third draft lessons, going fast and going slow. Hello and welcome to my writing journey. I'm Byerrum and I am delighted to announce that I have finished the third draft of my book, Crook Tales for Two. Now, I am the author of The Crime of Fashion Mysteries, which you can see behind me. But right now I am working on a new book and very possibly a new series, although I'm not sure about that quite yet. I wanted to say that even though I've written a number of books, I am still learning lessons when I write and for my writing process. During this third draft, I have realized there's a definite advantage to reading slowly and methodically, and then there's a definite advantage to reading the book fast, as if you were the reader and you can't wait to know what happens next. And your mind is engaged and all of your senses are engaged and you are reading along. That was a huge lesson for me. This was not possible if I had not read the book aloud. Let's just recap. I finished my first draft after a long period of spinning my wheels. I was still writing, but I had a lot of really pesky little crises in my life. But I had a light bulb moment, as they say, when I realized the crises didn't start until noon. And I thought, okay, fine. I have to change my ideas. At the same time, I remembered that my Sisters in Crime group has a writing session every day at noon. That is noon Virginia time, but not noon here in the dry desert of Colorado. So I started with the Zoom group at 10 o'clock my time. They knock off after an hour, but then I kept writing until noon and later. And that is the key that helped me finish that first draft and give me my momentum back. Even though I already adored these characters, I love the storyline. I think it's fast, I think it's funny, I think it moves, it's comedy, it's a romance, it's a mystery. I finished the first draft in remarkable time after spinning my wheels for a year. Then I went through the second draft, reading it aloud, every word, which allows you to really hear the work. You hear the characters and the voices. But the third draft has been kind of a revelation, an amazing thing, because I learned how much you get when you read fast. The second draft was a slow read, a slow out loud read. The third draft has been a fast out loud third read, but still with time to go back and change the things that needed to be changed. When you read a book quickly, for the pleasure of it, you can find continuity issues. For instance, you might have to move a character into another place and you found that the character is still lagging behind in the next chapter in the location you had in the current book. So that gives you a chance to really keep in mind the scenes and not just drift off and forget where you were. You know where you are and you need to change things. So that is critical. You may find that there's too much exposition in certain places. You may find that that exposition has been doubled in different places and you need to trim it or get rid of it or remind us about something, some key point in a different way. You may have to reorganize some of the material and the plot points. Now, if you think of a book as a roller coaster, you have dips and lulls and little thrills, and then you rise until you are up at the peak of that roller coaster for your big climax. So you need to keep this in mind when you're writing your book, is to keep the action going, keep the rising action going, even though you might have some dips and hollows in the narrative. So that happens. You can see the movement when you read it quickly, when you're reading your own book for pleasure. It also gives you a better sense of the flow of the book. There may be places where you come to a screeching halt and something is just off. So you can look at that, and that wouldn't be possible without that quick third draft read. A couple of things I noticed as I was doing my third draft read is I started going slower toward the end. Well, this is for two reasons. One is to really pay attention to that critical information, to pay off the things that you have set up in the beginning and in the middle. You may want to have revelations come out that work in this last scene, but also because I was really sad to leave my characters behind. And I just thought, oh, I really love the story. I love these characters. It's so much fun. Much like a reader when they close the book on one that they just loved, and then they look for the next in the series. So that makes me think that it's not going to be just a one-off book. I will have to write another. So we will see how that happens. And now is another sort of difficult part is I'm turning this draft over to my editor for his inevitable take on things, his work. We're going to have a lot of discussions because that's just how it goes. So I look forward to that and the work that's going to follow. And I also learned one more thing, how much I loved reading this book aloud. I don't know if it's just because I love hearing my own voice, which I do not, unless I'm talking in someone else's character voice. And I am playing with the idea of reading Crook Tales for two as an audiobook. So please do let me know if you think this is a good idea or a bad idea. As a disclaimer, my husband and I did volunteer for a while for reading books on tape. So if you think I ought to do an audiobook of this, me, myself, and I, or my other personalities, do let me know. And if you think that this is the worst idea in the world, go ahead. Let me know that too. That's all I have for you this week, and I'll come back to you next week. See you later.